Hey, hey there, it is Tuesday. This is Jody Fisher, and thank you so much for hopping on. I wanted to just share with you, my friends, about hitting a slump. So I know about hitting a slump because I've been practicing it this month of September, and I don't know what it is about. I love alliteration, so maybe my brain is wired to go into a slump in September, or maybe if I had been in some other mood, I would have found an S word and connected that to the month. I don't know. So I'm just wondering, whether you're watching with me live, thank you so much for hopping on, or if you are catching the replay and waiting for a better time that you can listen in. Hey Isabel, how are you today? If you are catching this live, Isabel, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear? Sorry to look away. I'm looking to see who's on my phone. So if you're also experiencing a slump here in September, go ahead and give me an S in the comments, whether you're live or you're watching on the replay, because I would love to know. It's always nice to know that you're not alone, right? So you are not alone. I've been hitting the slump for about 2 weeks now, and it's so funny because I love this time of the year. I love the summer, but I love when we change into fall. There's just so much. There's so much going on. So I wanted to talk about hitting a slump. So mine's been going about 2 weeks now, and while I hope to help you find out ways to get out of your slump, so maybe you're not in one now, but maybe you hit one sometime later in the fall, maybe around the holidays. That's very common for people, right? So I just want to help you get out, but I will tell you what does not work to get out of your slump. So I wrote down some things because these are all things that I tried. This didn't work for me. Maybe it would work for you, but if you have experienced any of these things while you're in a slump and you go and try, so eating junk. Does anyone experience that? Put an X if you experience any of these things or try any of these things to get out of like low moods or slumps. Eating junk. I tell you why that doesn't work, because often it's just making worse what you're already feeling, right? Some of us have that bad internal talk where we're like, I feel gross, I should be in better shape, I'm fat, which one of my least favorite words. And then what do? We go eat junk food, which actually doesn't help any of those things we complain about, right? So that doesn't work when you're in a slump. I tried for you guys, so you don't have to try. I did it for you. Here's another one I did. Call friends and family. Isn't that weird? Like, shouldn't you call friends and family all the time? But it's mine when I hit a slump that all of a sudden it's like, I'm gonna call my parents, which I do call them frequently, but I do also call them when I'm in a slump. And I think there's just something pacifying about that it puts you back into the days when you didn't have stresses and you can just sit there and listen and talk about what's going on with someone else rather than dealing with what you're going through, right? So calling friends and family, if you've ever tried that to get out of a slump, go ahead and put an X in the comments. So put an X for any of these things if you tried them to get out of a slump. Organize. So I've tried to organize in the last 2 weeks to get out of my slump. Now, not very well, because I really had just, when I don't work or when I'm not having to be mom taxi, I have just wanted to sit and stare and twiddle my thumbs. So organizing doesn't work either, because all that's doing is just keeping the mind busy until the next time you're not organizing, and then you're in your slump because you're still having your feelings of woe or being stressed out or being burnt out. So I tried that for you. You also do not have to organize to try to get out of your slump. Drinking alcohol, I tried that for you guys. I had a couple of drinks this weekend, shared a bottle of wine with my husband, seeing if that would help. Like, who wouldn't think that you couldn't just drink a bottle of wine and then feel great and fantastic the next morning, right? So I tried that for you guys. It didn't help me either. It just left me feeling fuzzy-headed and then actually a little bit regretful that I drank the wine. Gambling. Okay, I didn't get to try this one, but there was a day that I just had this urge that I was going to go down to the casino, which is well out of the way. Nothing's over there. And I didn't have any cash, so that's good. And I knew if I hit the ATM, my husband would ask me why I was hitting the ATM, so I didn't go. But gambling, and again, that's just another way we keep our minds busy to not actually deal with why we're in a slump in the first place. So why? Why are you in a slump? So I think this is really where you need to dive in to figure out why you're there and to get over it. So, ask yourself what's going on. What is different now than 2 weeks ago when you weren't in a slump? Hey, if you're popping on, thank you for jumping on. So I'm talking about figuring out why you're in a slump. And really just thinking back and reflecting, what is it that's going on? And I have to say, hi Linda, I have to say that for September, for many of us, that's the month that we begin to settle into a new routine of kids are in school or work picks up a little bit more for us, and we're trying to, maybe we were doing a lot of work in August to get kids in school, and now we're hitting our stride. And there's a lot of regularity, but then things also pop up. And I think there can be a lot of stress with that, but also I think there can be a lot of change. And just sitting down a moment and realizing that you're changing, everyone else is changing. We tend to compare what we're doing to other people, and so we'll get bogged down and we'll be like, oh, well, they're handling this so much better, or oh, I wish I was doing what they were doing right now, or oh, I wish I didn't have to do this. And especially after the summer when our schedules might have been a little bit more lax, and now they're quite different. We just need to process that change. We need to sit down and say, okay, well, this is what we're doing now. And then I think once you realize that there's a change or just an acceptance, or maybe stopping comparing yourself to other people, you realize what the problem is in the first place. So then you don't try all those things like overeating, eating junk, binge watching, drinking alcohol, gambling, calling your family and friends. These are all things that I tried in the last 2 weeks to sort of snap myself out of it. And sitting down and thinking about how my life has changed a lot, and now we're sort of at a steady state, and I'm having to process that. I think that helps me realize that, okay, I have some processing to do. I have some thinking to do. So as far as how to now move out of the slump after you realize what's going on and you give yourself some grace that things are changing, is to maybe journal about it. Maybe just get a piece of paper and just start writing all those thoughts down and let them all come together. It's not an essay. You don't have to you don't have to make sure your margins are like 1 inch or try to make them 3 inches so that you can write less on a piece of paper. Just write until you stop writing and let those aha moments come out. Let those realizations and those lessons come out, just so that you can say, oh, okay, I'm just sad that I'm not spending as much time with my kids, or I'm just sad that there seems to be less to do, or maybe I'm not as needed because my kids aren't around all the time, and let that set in. And then there's something very releasing about finding out what it is you're actually feeling and accepting it and moving on, because that's what we do when we try all those mechanisms to cover up. We're not getting down to what we're feeling. We're just trying to cover up being uncomfortable. Like, change is always happening, and that makes us uncomfortable. It can be exciting at first, but then it makes us uncomfortable, and we try to cover it up rather than realize, like, okay, this is the new thing that we do, and this is maybe how I've changed and come to accept it. Like Carol, okay, Carol, thank you. Thanks for coming on. Carol, if you happen to come back. So Carol is pregnant with twins. So you know, that might be a moment where you go, okay, I'm going to have 2 children in my life, and that is a big change, and that is something I'm working on. Or Alex, if you're still on, so you're expecting another baby, and so there's a moment where you just think about it and process it and say, okay, am I having feelings of, you know, being in a slump because really I am or am not ready for baby number 3, or maybe I'm worried about how the older kids are going to react and what I need to do for them. Hello. So it's just a moment of pausing and recognizing those feelings that you're having, really giving voice to them. Write it down what it is. Like, I'm in a slump because there's a lot of change going on and I don't really want to change. Or I'm in a slump because work's a little bit busier and I'm not taking time to myself. And once you actually give a voice to those emotions that are floating around in there, and you don't try to cover them up with all the things that are bad for us, it allows us to move on and to sort of accept that change, and to talk to who we need to talk to share those aha moments. Like, you know, if it is because you're going to have another child, then talk to your spouse. Like, hey, I'm having these feelings about us having baby number 3. Let's talk about it. You know, and maybe that's all it is you need to get out of the slump. So I know I just made it sound so simple, and it's not simple. So, you know, if you need to talk to someone, certainly do so. Don't stay in a slump. That is not good for you. I've been in mine for 2 weeks and I'm ready to get out. So I hope that helps you guys. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. I have to move this thing right here to finish my video. I hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday, and we will talk to you soon.